Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Terp Family Fundamentals webinar series. My name is Danielle Walker, and I'm the Assistant Director in the Office of Family Engagement. For those of you that are new, this webinar series is intended to help you become informed consultants on campus resources so that you can better support your Terps during this room selection process. Today, we're joined by the staff in the Department of Resident Life. They're going to discuss everything you need to know about the room selection process for residence hall housing, the many resources that are in place, and also how you can support your Terp as they navigate this process. Or if you're a Terp yourself joining us, this will be helpful for you to learn how to go about that room selection process. If you find you have questions, please feel free to submit those via the Q&A feature. To access this feature, find the two conversation bubbles towards the bottom of your screen. It should also say Q&A. If you don't see that, you may need to click the three dots to expand your toolbar. To help us answer questions that the majority of you have, I ask that you use the upvote option. So if you also have a question similar to the one that's already been asked, we ask that you use the thumbs up icon. This is considered an upvote, and we'll be prioritizing the questions with the most upvotes. Also be sure to look at the answered tab as well for questions that have already been responded to. We'll do our best to respond to as many questions as we can before the end of the webinar. And then lastly, this webinar is being recorded, and so it'll be available on our Terp Family YouTube channel later today. And so please refer to either your confirmation email or your reminder email for a link to our YouTube channel. So with that, I will hand off the presentation to my DRL colleagues.
Thank you, Danny. Much appreciated. Good afternoon and welcome to the Department of Resident Life's webinar. Our Resident Life team is so happy that you've joined us today, and we have a lot of information to cover with you. My name is Tracy Kiris. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm one of the Associate Directors for Resident Life. Again, we'll be talking about why we believe it's important to stay on for students in their second year or rising sophomores, and about the room selection process to secure residence hall housing next year. We'll cover a lot of material. I'm going to first take a moment to introduce our presenters, and then we'll take a glimpse at our agenda.
Hi, my name is Linda Dye. I'm a Public Inquiry Coordinator here at the Department of Resident Life in the Office of Assignments and Public Inquiry. I do a lot of things with housing assignments, inventory of our beds, and so forth.
And my name is Glenn Smith. I'm the Assistant Director for Assignments and Housing Occupancies.
Thank you, Linda and Glenn. We also have a few folks in the background who will be helping to answer the questions that are coming in through the Q&A function. So you can add those questions there. Let's take a glimpse at our topics that we'll cover today. Today's webinar, as was mentioned, will help orient you to the myriad of residence hall housing options available right here on campus, and why current first-year students should stay on for a second year. Living on campus provides students in their second year with the support they need and opens up more housing options for them in their junior year. We'll cover the room selection process to ensure you have a basic understanding of how things work. And if you do not see the topic that you are most interested in, no worries. We'll hold additional webinars about off-campus housing options, move-out process, and more in the coming months. If you're here to learn more about information on the South Campus Commons and Courtyards leasing process, we will not be covering that information in today's session, as it's a separately managed process through the Capstone on-campus management property. I will drop a couple of links in our chat so that you can view the process information and their recorded webinar by visiting those links. Some key points to keep in mind for today's session. Students who are interested in returning to the residence halls for the 2024-2025 academic year must submit their residence hall housing and dining agreement by 4 p.m. on February 26 to be eligible to participate in room selection. Students may form roommate groups to select their housing or choose a space as an individual. We'll have plenty of resources available to help students manage this process. They'll need to take an active role in researching the residence hall housing options and talk with friends and roommate groups about their preferences and their choices. Now, let's confirm who's in the room with us today by completing this poll. Okay, thanks for answering those questions. I see we have a lot of folks in our room today, which is great. Hopefully you will be able to answer the questions. It's wonderful to see so many rising sophomores and their families with us today, because this session will truly help you prepare for the upcoming room selection process. Now let's jump in so you can learn more about what we have to offer right here on campus.
Hi there. Once again, my name is Linda. So our campus population, we are home to more than 12,000 students in our residence halls. That includes all communities, Cambridge community, Ellicott community, Denton community, Heritage community, North Hill, South Hill, and Leonardtown. Our students represent a culturally rich and diverse campus. We call home, and there are students hailing from 42 states, Washington, D.C., and 48 countries. The Department of Resident Life provides housing options for students during their undergraduate experience. First and second year students who meet the priority housing deadlines are guaranteed a space in on-campus housing. So I see that most, as per the poll, most of you do have students going into their second year. Next slide, please. Okay, so our residence halls, we have 39 halls in 7 communities. There's no live-on requirement, but 56% of first-year students choose to return for their second year. Our housing runs from traditional residence halls, which many first-year students are currently living in, to apartments, which are units with 4 to 6 residents that include a kitchen, dining area, living area, and are on the South Campus side of campus. Next slide, please. So North Campus consists of Cambridge, Ellicott, Heritage, Oakland, and Denton. So that's Cambridge community, Ellicott community, Heritage community, Oakland Hall, and Denton community. Living learning programs are housed, some of them are housed on North Campus. College Park Scholars, University Honors, Gemstone, Integrated Life Sciences, BioFire, Carolyn, and Flexus and Virtus are engineering communities. Next slide, please. South Campus is North Hill, South Hill, and Leonardtown. There are living learning programs on South Hill as well, or on South Campus rather, as well. Writers House, Language House, Honors Humanities, Global Communities, ACES, DCC, which is Digital Cultures and Creativity, and IBH, International Business Honors. There are approximately 3,300 students in the South Campus Commons, or 3,300 students in South Campus. Next slide, please. Okay, our staff is over 90 full-time professionals and graduate students. Our 500 student staff, including resident assistants, community assistants, office assistants, and more. Okay, so apartments, suites, and semi-suites are some of our most popular options for second-year students. They are located in South Hill and Leonardtown. That's apartments. Suites are located in South Hill. South Hill notably is primarily suites with some apartments. Oakland Hall on North Campus is semi-suites. And those are 2 bedrooms connected by a bathroom, 2 double bedrooms rather. Next slide, please. Okay. Traditional halls, they're the North Campus high rises, singles, doubles, triples, and quads. Carroll, Caroline, and Wacomico, which are part of the North Hill community, are all single rooms. And Pyeonchang and Johnson Whittle are traditional residence halls. They're high rises, but they are new traditional, and they consist of primarily doubles. Students who are looking for single rooms are highly encouraged to go for Carroll, Caroline, and Wacomico, since those are all singles. Of course, it is notable that those are on South Campus, while the other options, North Campus high rises, Pyeonchang and Johnson Whittle, are North Campus. Next slide. Okay, so you must apply for housing, or rather your students must apply for housing by 4 p.m. February 26th. And it's really important that you memorize that date and impress it upon your students. So if they think they may want to live on campus, encourage them to submit it as soon as possible, because there's no reason to not submit it if you think you're going to live on campus. And if you apply after 4 p.m. on February 26th, then you lose that guarantee. So it's really essential that you make sure that your student completes their agreement by then. Next slide.
Thanks, Linda. So let's talk about room selection in more detail. Room selection is the process for students to choose a space and live in the residence halls. They must first log into the housing portal and complete the residence hall and dining agreement by February 26th at 4 p.m. We will be saying that many times throughout this presentation. February 26th, 4 p.m. is the deadline to apply. Students have been applying ever since November 13th. We've had over 4,000 students apply already. So this applies to every student who is seeking to live in the residence halls again, including rising sophomores, juniors, and seniors. Eligible students will be able to select a space and start a group. Many students have already begun forming groups. These groups can consist of sizes from 2 to 6. When you have a group, you will elect a group leader. That group leader is responsible for selecting a space for the entire group. There are 3 different opportunities to select a space if you're part of a living learning program, if you have a larger group, which is from 4 to 6, or if you're selecting as an individual or a smaller group from sizes 2 and 3. The great news is room selection is a live process. It happens on the portal. It's very similar to ordering a package on Amazon. You find a room that you want, you add it to the cart, you hold it for 10 minutes, and then you submit, and that is your room for next year. No waiting. You are set for housing for fall 2024, spring 2025. The other good news is that if you are a current first-year student, a rising sophomore, you don't have to wait to find out if you're eligible. If you meet the deadline, you are indeed eligible. You can start forming your groups now. But you must meet the deadline to be guaranteed to live in residence halls for next year. Next slide. So students will be faced with many decisions regarding room selection. You have to decide, who do you want to live with? Do you have any specific housing needs that are required? Do you have a specific room type in mind? Regardless of what decisions you make, you do have to have a plan B, just in case the space that you really want is not available at your appointed time. So for example, Pyeonchang, Johnson Whittle, our newest halls, will be very highly sought after. So if you don't get that, are you okay with another traditional hall like Denton, for example? If you have housing accommodations and you're an eligible student, you will work with the assignment staff to secure a space that meets your approved accommodation. If you don't have an approved accommodation and you need one, please contact our Office of Accessibility and Disability Services to get that process started now. Next slide. As I mentioned, students are already forming groups. If you're not started yours yet, you can log into our housing portal and get that process started. You already have some group of friends that you want to live with, collect their UIDs and form that group. Groups started forming January 26th and will continue through the end of room selection on March 11th. Again, think about what type of space that you're looking for will help decide your group size. If you're looking for a semi-suite, well, that's a group of 4. If you're looking for an apartment or suite, that's either group of 4, 5, or 6. Traditional spaces will vary depending on if you want a single, double, or triple, or a quad. It's important to note that the group leader is the one who selects at the group leader's appointed time. The group leader will place each student in their specific bed space within their unit. Next slide. Just in case you're looking for a roommate still, you have a couple options. You have the online roommate finder option, which is on our portal. You can filter through that process to look for a roommate based on the roommate questions that were asked on the housing application. Or you prefer, we have some in-person roommate mixers. Last year they were very popular, so we added 2 this year. There's one in Pyeongchang on February 28th, and then another on February 29th in Prince Frederick. You can go to either or both. So let's look at the timeline. February 28th, we will announce eligibility. And again, if you haven't already, you can begin forming your groups. On February 28th, we will also issue appointments to all students who are eligible. Students who are in a living learning program will have the opportunity to select within their program building or floor. If you are in a living learning program, but you have non-program roommates, then you'll be able to select in programs outside of your living learning program building or floor. If you're in a large group from 4 to 6, you'll be able to select within our group selection process, selecting suites or apartments or semi-suites. And if you're in a smaller group, you'll be able to select also within suites, apartments, and semi-suites, as well as traditional spaces. You must select in one of those processes. The last chance to select a space is March 11th at 4 p.m. So please select a space, otherwise your housing will be guaranteed. Let's look at these processes in greater detail. So if you are in one of the living learning programs listed here, ACES and IBH and DCC, and you're interested in living in Prince Frederick, you'll be able to form a group of 4 and select one of the semi-suites in Prince Frederick. Next slide. If you're in other living learning programs listed here, you'll be able to select within the traditional spaces. So students who are in smaller groups will be able to select as semi-suites as well, and you'll also be able to select a double or single if you are in the ACES program. College Park scholars will be able to return to the Cambridge community if they so choose. Students who are in honors global communities, there's 34 spaces reserved for you. If you're in ILS or University Honors or Gemstones and you wish to remain in your program atmosphere, we reserve spaces on the Plata 3rd and 4th floors for you. Students who are in the Writer's House will be able to select Queen Anne's on the 1st and 2nd floors. Students in Honors Humanities will have 24 spaces available to them and Anne Arundel. And students in the program formerly known as Civicus will be able to select either in Somerset or in Centerville. LP students in smaller groups or individuals will be able to select traditional hall spaces when they are available. Just remember that you have to, the students in the group have to be in the living learning program, otherwise you will not be able to select and will have to select in other communities. Next slide. Again, for students who are in larger groups from 4 to 6, you have some options available in South Hill Suites and apartments within Leonardtown or South Hill, also in semi-suites in Oakland. Our rising sophomores will be able to select between March 4th and March 7th, and our rising juniors and seniors, if they're eligible, will be select within March 5th through the 7th as well. If you are in a smaller group, group sizes 1 through 3, and you're a rising sophomores, you will be able to select between March 4th through March 7th. And you'll be able to select within our South Hill Suites and Apartments, within our Leonardtown Apartments, the Oakland Hall semi-suites, as well as traditional hall singles, doubles, triples, and quads throughout our traditional hall spaces. If you're a rising junior and senior and you're eligible to participate in room selection, and you're in a small group or individual, you will also be able to select within those same spaces starting March 5th. So these are three distinct processes. Can you go back to the last slide, Danielle? These are three distinct processes that are working simultaneously, whether you're in a living learning program or in a large group or in a small group. It all occurs during the week of March 4th. It is imperative that only the group leader is in the housing portal to select. This is to keep the housing portal from running slowly. So the group leader is the only person who can select, so the group leader should be the only one in the housing portal at their appointed time. The group members should certainly check their status after the group leader has selected a space for the group. Next slide. And some FAQs that we've been getting already. Some students have been wondering about how does their accommodation work regarding room selection. So the first step is you must apply for housing, February 26th, 4 p.m. Second step is you must be eligible for room selection. And then if so, your accommodation will stay with you. For students who have an accommodation for air conditioning, you're able to go in, select a space of many spaces that have air conditioning, and maybe you're able to keep your same room. So you can do that process on your own. Students who have other needs, the assignments office will work with you individually. Students may also decide that they want to select with their friends, and then they can also select a space that meets their accommodation. Some students are having trouble adding someone to their group. As of today, only our rising sophomores and juniors and seniors in exempt groups are made eligible to join groups. If we're able to offer rising juniors and seniors housing on February 28th, they'll also be able to be added to your group. But as of now, only rising sophomores and exempted students are able to be added to a group. Students on the wait list, they are not eligible to be added to your group. How will you see what's available? Well, once you get your appointment on February 28th, on your appointed time, your group leader will log in. They'll see a list of rooms available when they log in. Prior to that, we'll have a chart on our website that will show you what spaces we expect to be available for students to select during room selection. And then finally, if you have made other arrangements and you need to cancel your housing, please log into the housing portal, which is starres.umd.edu, and click on Cancel Housing to cancel your housing. If you have any questions about this process, do not hesitate to contact us via email, via phone, or come to our office in Annapolis Hall. We're available 8:30 to 4:30 to answer your questions about the room selection process. There are many resources available on our website. We expect that we'll have a chat feature on the housing portal during room selection as well. So many ways to reach us to get you through room selection. Nothing is more important, however, than submitting your housing and dining agreement and by February 24th at 4 p.m. And with that, I will turn it back to Danielle.
Thank you, Glenn. I've been furiously reading through some of the questions and answers that have already been posed, and I do have some questions that I want to answer or ask for the larger group. But first, I do want to clarify, I will be doing an off-campus housing webinar with Off-Campus Housing Services on Wednesday, February 28th at 12 p.m. noon Eastern time. This will be talking about all of the other off-campus housing options. And then if you're interested more in South Campus Commons and the courtyards, if you go on to the Terp Family YouTube page, there's a webinar there that I did just 2 months ago with staff in off-campus housing that can share more about the South Campus Commons and courtyards application process. So I put that information in the chat, but I just wanted to clarify because I did have that typo earlier. The first question that was that I wanted to mention. Are there residence halls on campus that don't require a meal plan for students?
Yes, so we have apartments that have kitchens available in Leonardtown and in the South Hill communities. So if once you select those spaces, you can log into the dining services website to cancel your dining plan. When you initially sign up for housing, you must select the dining plan. But if you have an apartment, then you can cancel your dining plan.
Thank you. For students who are currently living off campus, is there a way that they can apply to live on campus, and what is the probability that they would be able to receive a room on campus?
So the process is the same for all students. Everyone must apply. If you live off campus, there isn't specifically a deadline, but you should complete your dining agreement. You'll initially be placed on our wait list. After we have ensured that we have enough spaces for our eligible returning students, as well as our incoming freshman class, we'll be able to determine if we have spaces available for students on our wait list, and we'll begin communicating that status starting May 15th.
Thank you. And then you talked a lot about the different room selection appointment times. Can you share a little bit about how those times are determined?
Yeah, great question. So students will be randomly offered appointments based on their class. So if you're a rising sophomore, all rising sophomores will be randomly given an appointment starting March 4th at 9 a.m. And then if you're a rising junior or senior, you will be getting your appointment randomly assigned or starting March 5th.
And their class is determined by their number of credit hours?
Classes are determined by the number of semesters that they've lived on campus or at another university. So if you're a current freshman, you've lived on campus for 1 year, we consider you a rising sophomore or a priority group 2.
Thank you. And then is there a deadline to cancel your housing agreement if you decide not to live on campus?
For returning students, the deadline is April 1st. So that's in their terms and conditions that they'll be able to read on our website, but April 1st, if they select a space. Students who do not select a space will have their housing automatically canceled if they don't select by March 11th at 4 p.m.
Thank you. I'm going to go through and look through the Q&A again to see if there's any other questions. For those in the background answering any questions, is there anything that you would like to respond to live or elaborate on a little bit more?
Yes, thank you so much, Danny. I have seen a few questions about different housing options on campus. I encourage you to visit our website at reslife.umd.edu. If you look under the Terp housing link, you will find options to view the various housing styles and options that we have on campus, from traditional hall spaces to semi-suites, suite, and apartment style living. And there are also photos and video galleries that will give you a glimpse into that housing type and style. And I'll drop the link in the chat.
Thanks. I did see a question for students who are single students, so they don't have predetermined roommates that they want to live with. Are they able to select a room and then have another single person assigned to their room, or do they always have to go into a space and be filling that space? So if it's a 2-bedroom unit, they have to have 2 people, or if it's a 5-bedroom unit, they have to have 5 people. How does that work?
Again, great question. We have reserved spaces in our apartments, suites, semi-suites, as well as our traditional hall doubles, triples, and quads for single students or smaller groups. So you don't have to have a roommate. You can select one of those spaces, whether it's a single or double. If you select a double room, obviously we will assign a roommate to you, or another student may select that other half of the double during room selection as well.
Thank you. Are students receiving emails about this process? Can you share about what they're receiving on their end?
Yes, we've already had a few emails that's going out just announcing the application process part of the process. With the next couple of weeks, we'll be sending out emails regarding living learning program specific processes, as well as to all students, just with the specifics of the process. But up until now, we've been focusing on completing the housing application and forming your groups. And again, all of this information is also on our website.
Thank you. There is a question about juniors and seniors being able to sign up for housing. And just to confirm, rising sophomores have priority, then first year students, and then there's juniors and seniors. Is that the
So rising incoming freshmen are in priority group 1, but they don't necessarily participate in room selection. Then our rising sophomores are in priority group 2. As long as they meet the deadline, they're eligible. If they've already applied, they're already eligible to form groups. Students who are in priority group 3, which are rising juniors, priority group 4, which are rising seniors, their status is pending the February 28th decision, which we will email them on February 28th, letting them know their ability to participate in room selection. And then there are students who are in the exempted group, rising juniors and seniors, who are eligible to participate in room selection and likewise can already begin forming groups.
And this has been mentioned several times, and it is on our closing slide as well, but we cannot emphasize this enough. If your student is interested in considering residence hall housing for next academic year, they must submit their residence hall housing and dining agreement by 4 p.m. February 26th to even be eligible to participate in room selection. We have had thousands of students already submit their agreement, which is fantastic. It is very unlikely for students who miss that deadline that we'll be able to accommodate them in on-campus housing for next year. So your main takeaway should be, please talk with your student and have them submit their agreement today to ensure they're eligible to participate.
Thank you, Tracy. The questions have slowed down a little bit, so I do want to give folks a few questions on the back end if you see anything that you want to answer live. And one just came in that I can answer since I've been doing this for a couple years. Is there a benefit to submitting your agreement before the deadline? No, just make sure you do it before the deadline. Any other questions from those on the back end that want to answer live? Oh, this is a good question that just came in about studying abroad. Can you share about how that may impact a student's either selecting their room or if they decide to study abroad in the spring, how that may impact their on-campus housing?
So students who are studying abroad for the spring semester should still meet the February 26th deadline. They should still choose a room. And then by December 1st, they'll be able to petition for a release and be able to cancel their spring housing and then study abroad. There was another question about how to form groups. So students can log into the housing portal. Um, they'll be faced with a number of options. If they know who their roommate is, they collect their friend's university ID number, and then they'll be able to search for the students via the UID and then form a group that way. If they're just looking for someone, they'll be able to search via roommate details, and they'll be able to look at how students answered questions on their housing contract, which is, are you need, do you plan to have guests over? And so you can find someone that way. There's also a message feature if you choose to go that route. And then finally, we have the in-person roommate mixers February 28th and February 29th.
Thank you. There was also a question about meal plans for students who live off campus. There are commuter meal plans. And then there's also other options such as Terp and Express and Dining Dollars that students who live off campus can purchase just to supplement whatever it is their meal, not plan, but whatever they plan to do for meals living in their space off campus. They can get a commuter plan to kind of supplement that. And so that's on the dining services website. It's dining.umd.edu. And again, commuter dining plans. And so you can find more information about that on the dining services website. Okay, I will go ahead and wrap us up. It looks like folks are answering the questions that are coming through now. So I do want to take this time to thank you all for joining us this afternoon. Contact information for Resident Life is on the last slide here, reslife.umd.edu or 301-314-2100. Please feel free to reach out to their office and they'll be happy to assist you. As I bring this webinar to a close, I do want to remind you all that this was recorded and will be available on the Terp Family YouTube channel later today. So if you ended up joining us late, or if you want to share this information with your student, please feel free to do so. You'll also receive an email with a link to the recording and the survey and a survey. So please let us know how we did, how we can improve on future webinars, and also any other topics you'd be interested in learning about. I welcome your thoughts and your feedback. So thanks again, everyone, for joining us today, and have a great, wonderful rest of your day. Thank you all.